Hey everybody, it's your boy, and God, I haven't made a video on this guy for such a long time. I think I even missed all the controversy about him that came out just a couple of years ago, and that is Joss Whedon, one of the many staple people I used to make a video about every year since the old channel. It's been such a long time that I felt, since he said some pretty spicy things recently, that I would rediscover him and see what he's been up to. So a little background as to what's been going on with him before the recent events. So the last time I recall making a video about him, although maybe some people who remember my content better than me may refresh my memory, but the one thing that I remember is that he cheated on his wife. His wife came out with an open letter in the Wrap and said that he was a hypocrite. He was your typical male feminist who was just using his feminist views to get into women's pants. Essentially, all the sets that he had were just his own personal harems, and there was nothing she could do about it. And he was just using this to get into their pants, to gaslight her, and he's just an all-round horrible, scummy guy, according to her. He admitted to all of that as well, if I remember correctly, that he was a cheating scumbag. And after that, Warner Brothers brought him in 2018 to work on the Justice League to try and salvage that piece of shit. Didn't work, obviously. That then brought him some other drama that he didn't really need for his career. There was accusations of him being horrible on set and abusive and threatening people, and especially Ray Fisher was on the warpath against him, calling him racist, trying to erase persons of colour. Essentially, he was no longer woke enough after being the flag bearer for feminism and strong independent women in films and TV. Yeah, turns out that you can't keep being progressive forever, because eventually the woke left-wing identity politics types will simply progress to a new era, and you will be the new fascists and racists and sexists. Ironic, isn't it? Since then, it's been quiet. No Joss Whedon news, no Joss Whedon films even. Until recently, when Vulture decided to publish this interview piece about him, and good lord, it's spicy. The article waxes lyrical about his early childhood and the peak of his career, Buffy, Angel, Firefly, all that crap, and then goes into the Avengers, and how he seemed like he could do no wrong, and how he was seen as this sexy feminist ally who was just there holding the flag for feminist causes and progressive causes in America and the world, and he just seemed like an all-round good guy, right? Until, of course, all those accusations, which they also get into, but again, I've already given you the rundown, so we're going to move on to the spicy bit. Then the article finally gets to the filming of the Justice League, or rather the reshooting, rewriting of the Justice League. Joss Whedon basically says that he was brought in initially just to finish it off, because Zack Snyder had, of course, already made most of the film, until his daughter tragically committed suicide, forcing him out to deal with all of that. However, it turned out that Warner Brothers had lost faith in Zack Snyder. I mean, who can blame them? He did make The Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, two terrible films, and his vision just wasn't meshing with the audience, and it wasn't working. So what was originally going to be just a few things here and there to finish it off became complete freedom for Whedon to change the film into whatever he wanted. According to Whedon, not only did he want to change the film fundamentally, but he also changed how things were done on set. And the actors apparently didn't like this, because Zack Snyder gave them a lot of freedom to ad-lib and to have some creative freedom, whereas Whedon, being the wannabe auteur that he is, wanted a bit more control. He wanted them to recite the lines that he had written for them, which they didn't like. And apparently Gal Gadot suggested that he, the director of the highest grossing superhero movie at the time, didn't understand how superhero movies worked. And at one point, Whedon even paused the shoot to announce that he'd never worked with a ruder group of people. And the actors fell silent. If this is true, then these people are even more egotistical than footballers. These are paid actors whose job is to recite lines. They are not the writers, they are not the directors. Zack Snyder clearly has a different style of doing things which they liked. However, they were now working with a different person who has a different style and expects different things from them, which means, as professionals, they should do what he tells them. He's the boss. But apparently, it wasn't just them that were being rude. According to the actors, he, Joss Whedon, was also being rude, which then, of course, brings us to the stuff about Fisher. According to Fisher, Zack Snyder had apparently treated him like a writing partner, soliciting his opinions on the film's representations of black people, because apparently a Hollywood actor is the type of person that you should be going to ask about representations of black people in your own film. And of course, when Joss Whedon decided to downplay Cyborg's role from the film, which is much more important in the Zack Snyder cut, Fisher, of course, as we all know, spit out his dummy and protested. Apparently, Whedon cut off Fisher when he was trying to raise his concerns on the phone, saying, "It feels like I'm taking notes right now. I don't like taking notes from anybody, not even Robert Downey Jr." So it's pretty clear that Joss Whedon, as you can probably tell, is a director that likes his own creative freedom, and actors are there to do, well, what actors do. They recite their lines. He's the writer, he's the director, he's the auteur, he's the man with the vision. You make that vision a reality for him. That's his style. There's nothing wrong with that as far as I can tell. Maybe he didn't express how he wanted the set to be in the way that he probably should have done. Maybe it could have been a more diplomatic way, but it's clear he's an arsehole and he's going to do whatever he can to get his own way, which, to be fair, it seems like the actors were just as bad, if all of this is true. And apparently, Gal Gadot didn't care about his style either, saying that she told reporters Whedon threatened her and that he would make her career miserable. Apparently, Whedon didn't say such things, saying that he doesn't threaten people. Who does that? And then he concluded that she had misunderstood him. English is not her first language, and I tend to be annoyingly flowery in my speech. Ooh, lad! That is some spicy shit. It's kind of refreshing, really. I know he's an absolute scumbag and male feminist, but good lord, that is some good stuff. Saying that she didn't understand him because English is not her first language, and that he didn't mean what she thought he meant. Wow. I mean, say what you want about him, but he's honest and he's got some balls. Apparently, he also jokingly told her that if she wanted to get rid of some scene that she didn't want, she would have to tie him to a railroad track and do it over his dead body. Then he was apparently told that he had said something about her dead body and tying her to the railroad track. Gadot did not agree with Whedon's version of events. "I understood perfectly," she told New York in an email. I don't even know which side to believe, but it's hilarious nonetheless. And to be fair, maybe Whedon is telling the truth and that she misunderstood him, or somebody had twisted their words to her, which created a misunderstanding. Who knows? It's just hilarious. However, unfortunately for Whedon, they also got into contact with some actress on Angel, I think it was, who said that he used to say stuff like that even back then. And apparently she thought, when she read Gadot's quote at the time, wow, he's still using that line. But Whedon, of course, denied this ever happened back then. Of course, as we all know, the film ultimately bombed and was a critical nightmare for him, which pretty much ended his career, let's be honest. But 2 years later, as I mentioned before, Ray Fisher decided to tell his story about Whedon, because as the article states, this was during an era of worldwide protests against racism. Allegedly, Fisher had been told that Whedon had used colour correction to change an actor of colour's complexion because he didn't like the actor's skin tone. Man, with everything 2020's been, that was a tipping point for me. Of course, Fisher did not respond to multiple interview requests, which is, of course, a little bit sus, because surely you'd want to say that yes, this definitely did happen, almost like maybe he's chatting crap. Whedon denied this, and apparently he was stunned, saying that he actually brightened up the whole film, which you can clearly see there was a huge difference in tone between the two versions. And not only that, he cut down a lot of Cyborg's role for 2 reasons. One, the storyline made no sense logically, and he felt the acting was bad. And apparently, Whedon wasn't alone in feeling that way. At test screenings, viewers deemed Cyborg the worst of all the characters in the film. But despite that, Whedon insists he spent hours discussing the changes with Fisher and that their conversations were friendly and respectful, and that none of the claims that Fisher made in the media were true or merited discussing. And then, trying to explain Fisher's motives, "We're talking about a malevolent force," he said. "We're talking about a bad actor in both senses." Wow. The balls on Joss Whedon. This guy doesn't care anymore. This is a man that has nothing to lose and everything to gain at this point. This is brilliant. I think Razorfist did say it best, that in an era of Hollywood where there is just so much political correctness to the point it's unbearable. It's seeping out of the films itself. This type of honesty, this type of attitude where I'm so arrogant in my own belief as a filmmaker, as a person, that I'm better than you and I know exactly what I'm doing, and you're the actor, you need to shut up, and this is my opinion and I'm going to criticise you in public and don't care if you don't like it, is refreshing, because this is what people used to do in Hollywood. They used to criticise people, from a lowly gaffer to a Hollywood star, all the time. This is refreshing, and it's about time that somebody actually just says it like it is. That's not defending the guy, it's just, I guess, the truth. This is great entertainment, and this needs to be said. I personally think that Ray Fisher was definitely full of crap when he came out with all that stuff. Now, obviously, I don't know about the accusations of abuse and rudeness and things like that, but if he was willing to dump and pump people on his sets like crazy, then maybe he didn't respect people enough to care about their feelings and to put an arm around them, things like that, and have a very nice atmosphere on set, at least by the time of Justice League. Then the article decides to go into conspiracy theory territory and discuss how could all of this have happened to Whedon, with the backlash against the Justice League, the accusations levelled against him by the likes of Godot and Fisher and old partners and old actors and actresses from Buffy and Angel, etc, etc. How could all of this have happened? The theory apparently from defenders of Whedon, I mean, as if he has defenders at this point, is that Zack Snyder was there behind the scenes feeding all this stuff so he could get his cut out, which I don't think is true, considering the stuff he's had to deal with in his life, like the suicide of his daughter, which I imagine would take a lot of time to sort out and have a lot of time for emotions to simmer and to be dealt with. Maybe he needed some therapy, who knows. The fact that he hadn't made a film in between the Snyder cut of the Justice League and Batman vs Superman says it all. Whedon claims that he doesn't know who started all of this, but he knows whose name it was done in. Snyder. Because apparently Zack Snyder's stans were attacking Joss Whedon for being a bad feminist and a bad husband. They don't give a fuck about feminism, he said ironically. I was made a target by my ex-wife and people exploited that cynically. As he explained this theory, his voice sank into a hoarse whisper. She put out a letter saying some bad things I'd done and saying some untrue things about me. But I had done the bad things, and so people knew I was gettable. So you're admitting that they're right, you're a bad husband, and you're a bad feminist. It's kind of funny how you said they don't give a crap about feminism, because you don't either. Because if you cared about feminism, wouldn't have done what you did on those sets. But hey, what am I saying? Not even female feminists care about women that much. Then the article ends this part on a very interesting note. Apparently, after the success of the Snyder Cut, Whedon was accused of intentionally erasing people of colour from the film, which was apparently a remarkable reversal, because apparently Snyder's work was widely seen as the epitome of problematic cinema, especially 300, where the Iranian delegation at the UN said it threatened to incite a clash of civilizations. Apparently the internet had recast Snyder as a progressive hero, while branding Whedon, its progressive hero of yesterday, as a villain and a bigot. The beginning of the internet raised me up and the modern internet pulled me down, Whedon said. The perfect symmetry is not lost on me. There we go, guys. You see, you can be as woke can be, but eventually the progressive machine will move on without you, and you will be tomorrow's racist, tomorrow's sexist, tomorrow's transphobe. It's never good enough, but that's how they operate. The old must be purged so that the new can take their place. This is typical communism. This is what Stalin did. This is what Vladimir Ilyich Lenin did. It's what Mao did. It's what Xi Jinping is doing now. This is nothing new. This has always happened. And for as long as communism and leftism remains in the world, it will continue. And he has learnt that lesson. He realises this. And I think I'll end it there, guys. I think that part of the article was quite illuminating. He criticises people honestly and brutally, which is refreshing. But not only that, he recognises that he cannot be woke enough. That he will always fall out eventually with these people because it's the way it works. And I thought that was very telling, and the irony was brilliant. But I think that the backlash that this will receive will be great. I think we should mine the salt from this and just sit back and watch them fight each other and just, well, have a bit of fun, guys, you know. Will this be the final Joss Whedon video I might ever make? Possibly, but you never know. Until next time, it's been your boy, and I'll see you all later.